Hi there, Gemini. Welcome to your reading. This is Yetta Pearl, and this is your general angel reading for the week of March 7th through 13th of 2022. So here we have all your angels have gathered. I've explicitly asked them to come and to provide the best messages, deep messages. You know, sometimes I find that the messages that come through are kind of skating on the surface. Yes, they're accurate, but I mean, they don't really give the bigger, deeper picture. And so I've asked them to deliberately go a little deeper this time. And so they've told me that my responsibility in that is to slow myself down. Sometimes I get going quick and skip over places, right? And so that's what I'll be doing today for this reading. That card that just flew right out. And this one more card, and then we'll be ready. Those ones, that was interesting how they just flew out. Okay. Well, this is good. This is really good. This is all about you, your inner self, your outer self too, but it's all about you and looking after yourself. It's time to do things because they are what's best for you, kind of without regard for who's around. That doesn't quite, I think that's not quite the full message. You're not going to deliberately hurt anybody else who's around you. But, like just say maybe you live in a household with 4 people, and usually you really, you work to make sure everybody else's needs are met before you will even look at yourself. And a lot of times you end up without it's not really energy, it's without the knowledge of what it would take to actually fulfill yourself. Because by the time you've looked after everyone, you're just you're on that wavelength, you're on that track, and you need to take the time and the deliberate attention to switch your thinking, your goal, your perspective, I guess, your angle, so that you're looking at yourself and seeing, what do I need? Who am I? If these other people were not here, who am I? It's a big question. It is absolutely time to do that. So nurturing yourself, we're in a spa society, right? Go for massage and a sauna and a pedi and, and those things absolutely feel great. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about knowing what you need way deep down without considering what other people around you need. It feels like, we've been taught so much that kind of activity or thoughts, that's selfish. And we shouldn't, ever put ourselves first and all that stuff. Well, that's bullshit. I'll just tell you that right now. You have to get to know who you are without the influence of anyone else. It's not easy to do because you are always around those people, right? So it takes some very deliberate channeling, targeting, time to get to know what you need, what direction you want to grow in, as opposed to, just kind of going with what's going on, and that's where you accidentally end up. You could do that, but I mean, it won't be fulfilling. And the time will come where you'll go, done, right? This way, you don't have to go done with everything else, or you might not, right? But you'll at least know who you are and what you need, and what path you want to be on. How do you want to advance within yourself? What do you want to learn? What do you want to cultivate? And it's time now to really identify those things. It feels like you're at a crossroads where this is perfect timing to get to know those things and to see for yourself, and only for yourself, where you're going. It doesn't mean that you're leaving people behind. It does mean that you are honoring yourself. Finally. Okay? And honestly, harmony is totally possible within this same scenario. The people around you, like, they have their own going deeper within self moments. This one happens to be yours. So, okay, think about that. People that are directly around you. Can you identify when that person experienced their own little crossroad moment? It could have been tiny. It could have been big. They had their own. It's your turn. And so you don't need to ruin anything with that relationship in order to follow, to make your own choice, crossroad choice. It is possible that some people won't come along, but it won't be directly because of your choice with this. It would be just simply, developing in different directions, which sometimes happens and needs to happen. And so, there's no fault, there's no blame. Harmony is definitely possible within your self-growth. The harmony could happen whether you actually stay in the same household or not. Okay, getting a lot of messages, so like it's for a lot of people, right? And so all these are possibilities. I can't tell specifically which one is for you, so you will have to do that yourself. It's all part of this learning who you are and what you need and what direction you want to go, you need to go, right? Yeah, and so listening to all your guides, to the people around you, what they're saying when they're not thinking about what they're saying, right? What they're saying when they're deliberately saying what they're saying. It's time for you to be quiet and listen and gather. It's a real prep time. As well as all this spiritual growth. Like, it's your time. This is all, it's been leading up for quite a while, and you've been aware of it, and you've sometimes gone towards it and sometimes pushed it away, and like, that's normal. That's, it is a scary thing, to create change within yourself, even if the change is not external. It's a scary thing because you think it might lead to external change, right? All those things, they're like, change is kind of scary sometimes. But the more you can realize that this change is growth, then the easier it'll be. Because who wants to not grow? I mean, a houseplant that never grows, would you even keep it? It's sure not interesting, right? So this is just your time to do a whole bunch of growth. It's like a toddler having a growth spurt, except you're not a toddler, right? And it's not physical. So it has to happen. It's beautiful and it's amazing. And sometimes it's uncomfortable as hell. And sometimes you're pushed along almost unwillingly. But it has to happen. and it's beautiful. And as much as possible, just savor it. Like even the things that aren't comfortable, like maybe you have to have a hard conversation with somebody about, you need some time to figure this out. There is still a lot of joy to be had in all these steps, all these little bits of growth that are adding up to a big growth, right? And any change, take the joy. I'm just seeing somebody on a bed, actually, a big bed, and they're, spread eagle on the bed, taking up the whole bed. Let yourself feel the full joy from that, rather than guilt or blame or whatever led to that moment. Let yourself have your space and your time and feel joyful in it, and get some fresh air. Like, this is this limitless space. It's very joyful. It's also harmonious. Like, it's not causing injury to anyone else. It might be causing temporary hurt, but it's not causing injury. Especially when, you're going to be a little diplomatic, right? When you're speaking and saying, really putting the focus upon yourself and saying, I need this for me. I just do. And so it's not that I am disregarding you at all. If I was disregarding you, I would just disappear and you wouldn't know where I was for a little while. This is me having this conversation, this communication with you, saying this is what I need, this is how I'm going to go after it, and you can be completely responsible for your own self. I will be back. Right? That's what that looks like. And okay, so I'm being told that this is not for absolutely everybody, but for many of you, this is the conversation, because you don't live alone, right? So no matter what your relationship is with those other person or people that you live with, there is communication required so that you can have the limitless space and time to do what you need to do. Okay. And all of this together is going to create balance. You've been feeling so unbalanced, like you've got only one leg and no crutches, right? Like any little gust of wind can tip you over. You need to create this balance. And that's what's going to really set up the rest of your life and relationships for thriving. You have to do this work now in order to create those conditions, to make the balance, to make yourself and your life and the people in it much more stable and solid. Okay, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing with difficulty in between, not hardship, difficult moments that will also be helping you grow. Do you see that? Okay. So one last piece of wisdom from the daily guidance cards. Acceptance. Acceptance of yourself. Also of others. But you have to start with yourself. If you're always judging yourself, then you're always judging somebody else too. If you're judging yourself for your size, then everywhere you go, no matter who you see, you will be constantly going, oh, that person's pretty overweight. Or, oh, look, she's so slender. Then you're judging them too, because you start with yourself. Be happy with you. Be happy with you. There's always things to strive for and change and get better at and get healthier and, all that stuff. But it's not a judgment situation. So acceptance is the word of the day. Acceptance is the word of the day. Okay. Gemini, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you very much, and I love you, and I will see you next week.